I feel like with like the movies coming out now, like with Barbie and stuff, a lot of people are gravitating toward that more. Like I get a lot of people saying, oh, we need more female filmmakers, especially with The Substance. I love that filmmaker, Coralie. Anyway, there's a lot of really amazing filmmakers that are women that are coming out now. So I feel like in that sense, it is a little easier. A lot of people initially do not give me the benefit of the doubt. A lot of people think I'm the makeup artist or an actor, or I get a lot of comments like, someone said to me the other day, like, who would ever pick you to direct anything? Yeah, and I've lost jobs because of jealous men.
Really?
Unfortunately.
As a director?
Yeah.
Dang it. They were what, DPing, or they were the client?
It just...
We should take them out back and...
Grip sets. Like, some people just can't handle being told what to do.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
For the most part, no. Like, the people I work with are great, and I try to work with people who obviously don't have that mentality, but and
I think times have changed since we were in college, and the times have definitely changed, and you definitely see a lot more women directors and just more authorities in film. And so I imagine it's gotten easier for you, but then it's like you came even just 10 years ago and it may have been a little bit more difficult, but amazing that you're still in the industry and still grinding. And that's what's so exciting for me, is like catching up with these friends that I've known for so long, and we're still at it.
Yeah.
So, good job.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, you're still doing that? And I'm like, yeah.
Welcome to episode 7, my goodness, of A Filmmaker's Journey. We've got Whitney Ingram. My gosh, it's been forever. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's weird seeing you after so long.
It is so weird. We actually were just talking about how long it's been, and we're just not going to say how long it's been because then it will date us, even though we're getting up there in years. Yeah. Unfortunately, but also wiser, right?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's what
we'll say
call it. Well, I'm really excited to catch up with you because we went to film school together. We also went to high school together, but we didn't really know each other in high school. I knew of you. I knew your brother. But we really became friends at school, and specifically the audio class.
Yes.
I feel like that's where we really hit it off.
Yeah.
And that was so fun.
And I was the only girl in that class.
Yeah. You were probably the only girl in a lot of classes.
Yeah. I remember that one specifically, though, because there were a lot of people. It was like 40 people.
Yeah,
and I was
huge.
The only girl, which was sort of strange.
Was that your second time taking that class or your first time? Because it was my second time.
It might have been my second time.
Because the first time Wiz caught it. Yeah. You remember Wiz? And then Brian caught ours, and he loved us.
Yes.
And have you seen him recently?
Mm-mm.
So I hadn't seen him in years. He works out at the Vasa Lehigh.
Oh, okay.
And he has lost like 250 pounds.
Oh, really? Okay,
He's
I might have seen that on
fit.
Facebook. Yeah.
It's amazing. He's crushing it. So I had to bring that up because I'm like, that was like our class that we really became good friends in. And we were probably the most talkative people in that class.
Yeah.
Pretty disruptive.
The audio
but Brian was
are kind
cool.
of quiet.
I know. We didn't really belong there. No, that's for sure. But yeah, so the format is, I want to talk about you, Whitney. I want to talk about where you're at currently in your filmmaking career. But I always like to ask the question, do you consider yourself a filmmaker?
I do, yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
That's great.
I've mainly done short films, but yeah, I'm always working on some sort of film. I'm writing a feature right now and
no way.
Shorts right now, so.
Very cool. I know it's filmmakers become this like modern, the modern term is kind of different than what it used to be.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stems from social media and the whole just content creation community, because there's no more film, right? Really,
it's kind of
there is film, but yeah. So filmmaker has really just become like a person that makes videos, a videographer. So it's awesome because I consider myself a filmmaker as well. Some people are like, no, I'm not a filmmaker. I just make videos. It's like, yeah, I think you're a filmmaker. So it's me just trying to convince people. But what are you doing right now? It sounds like you're writing a feature. What else do you have going on in your world?
So I'm trying to get this job with this production company right now to do commercials. Mainly comedy commercials. Nice. I think the commercial world would be fun just because it's short and fast and I could learn a lot and experience more. And writing the feature and just working on my YouTube channel, recently got up to 4,000 subscribers. I don't know why YouTube is so scary to me.
I hear
I've been
you.
doing Instagram for so long, like, because it's so different, but
Yeah.
YouTube just feels a little bit more serious. I've been trying to teach people and gain more followers, and then also just kind of get out there and show my work more.
What kind of content? I didn't know you had a YouTube channel. What kind of content are you putting on there?
It's mainly just like my shorts that I've been working on, and then behind the scenes.
And shorts probably isn't as intimidating because it's so Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
I've learned that. Shorts are new to me.
Yeah, and most of my shorts are usually around 5 minutes, so they're not very long.
You want to pull up her YouTube channel just while we're talking? I've been trying to get back into YouTube as well, and the shorts are definitely not intimidating. But I hear you, the Instagram world, the YouTube world feels intimidating. What kind of content are you doing for it?
So it's my short films, and then I always put like some kind of behind the scenes with it, and then I have been trying to teach people a little bit too. I'm like working on. I hate being in front of the camera, but I also it gets me work. So it's like a catch-22 where I don't want to be in front of the camera, but I also want to be seen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the artist's whatever tragedy or whatever, but I'm trying to teach people as well how to do it. So I'm working on like how I made my demo reel, or just little things that my audience is asking for. I'll do polls on my Instagram, and a lot of the people are beginner filmmakers, and then I'm also niching down to low budget filmmaking, just because that's
you've done well
what I ended up doing anyway. And I usually end up making stuff where I'm like all the hats. So I'm writing it, I'm directing it, I'm DPing it, I'm editing it, and then I'm just finding whoever to work on it with me.
Heck yeah, she is.
And they're usually like run and gun, like very small groups, but I love it so much. Like I just don't want to stop making things. And so this is just kind of an excuse to just keep making more and more stuff, even though there's little to no budget with most of them, which is kind of fun because then you get more creative and you try and figure out what you can actually do with limited circumstances.
Totally. I have so many questions just based on everything you just said.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. So as far as like you obviously are on YouTube, it sounds like you are writing a feature. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of the process. I've never done that. That sounds very scary.
Yeah. I mean, I love writing. I took extra writing classes in school just because that was the only way to get my stuff made was to actually write it. And the feature, so I worked for an MLM. I've done a lot of odd jobs over the last few years. Like I've done freelancing, but I've also worked for corporate, especially when COVID hit, just because I was doing a lot of live productions and those stopped. And I worked for an MLM, multi-level marketing company, for a little bit, and it was the craziest place I've ever worked in my life. Were you like
a videographer for them, or did you like get in it?
No, I did video for them.
Okay.
I was in the
video
department.
We actually have a client that is MLM right now.
Yeah, there's a lot around here. Yep. So I was working in the video department, and it was the most nutty place I've ever worked in my life. I didn't really understand the culture until I started working there. So I worked there for a year, and I just got all this content. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take notes and like try and figure out if I can make a story out of this, because there's just so many like kooky people in it too, especially people who become successful. And my favorite genre is dark comedies. So it's just, there's a lot of crying, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of weird like type A personalities and stuff, and then what goes on behind the scenes is very different than what you see at like the conventions and stuff, and
that sounds cool,
very odd. So I like to say it's like Wolf of Wall Street meets Mean Girls. So it's like
in an MLM world.
Yeah, in an MLM world.
That'll tickle a lot of people's fancies in Utah.
Yeah, and I feel like since, you know, it is so prevalent in Utah, like I have all these people who have been in it for so long, so I have all the access to everyone. And a lot of Utah culture kind of overlaps with MLMs too. Totally. So I feel like I was meant to write it. I've been working on it for a little while now, and then it's just one that I'm really excited about. And I've been so scared to do a feature. I've only written one before, and that was a friend of mine wrote a book about his time in the Vietnam War as a paratrooper. And it's a true story. It's a really amazing story. So I adapted the book into a screenplay. and it would be such a expensive film.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how that would get
But
made.
you wrote it.
But I wrote it.
That's amazing.
122 pages. It's about his time
Jeez.
Doing training in the Vietnam War, and then his time fighting the VA system. So it's 2 timelines from the 1970s and the 1990s. Wow. And he was like one of the most decorated paratroopers in the infantry in the 82nd Airborne. So really cool story.
That's
really expensive.
Yeah.
No idea how it would get made. I got it, with the Writers Guild. I got it. It's up this year, so I got to re-register it.
So then, are you like, the goal would be to sell it to someone?
I probably would want to sell it. I don't know if I could make a war movie.
Yeah, like you would need to sell it versus like going and directing it.
I feel like it would be too much for my first feature.
Yeah.
And I also love dark comedies, and I'm really trying to go into that more just because that's what I've gravitated towards. Mm-hmm. So the MLM is like, my goal is that's going to be my first feature.
That's cool. Wow. Like intimidating to even think about writing like a full-on feature. Like that sounds crazy to me. And you say, I've only written one. Like, I've not written any.
I've written a lot of shorts, but the features, I mean, it's like writing a book.
So how far along are you on the one you're writing now?
Not very far.
And does it have a title yet?
The Opportunity.
The Opportunity.
Right now is the working title.
And sorry, I asked 2 questions. How far along are you in it right now?
Right now, I'm in the very beginning stages. I've only written like 3 or 4 pages, and then I go off the book Save the Cat, so they're really big into like beats and like outlining it first. So I'm still in the outlining stage. I'm still figuring out the log line and little details about character development and backgrounds and all that stuff.
That was what I was going to ask next, because I have not written, I mean, since Alex's class, did you take Alex Newman's class? I haven't written anything, and I remember I wrote something, and it was, I don't remember the process anymore, and that's what I was going to ask you, because I think a lot of people would be interested in. You don't just sit down and start writing from page 1 to the page 120. You got to character development, you got a log line, your outline. What is like the process you take in writing that feature? And it sounds like you've already gotten a little bit into it. Yeah. What is that like for you?
Normally I'll try and do a beat sheet. And with Save the Cat, that's the first book that ever made sense to me, because it really...
What is Save the Cat?
It's a screenwriting book.
Oh, so is it like an education book that you read that basically guides you?
Yeah, and it beats out, like, it's so specific, which I really like. So we'll tell you, like, on page 55, this needs to happen.
Gotcha.
On this page, this needs to happen. And it kind of, like, guides you through on where you should be going with your story and what your story is, like, genre-wise. Very detailed, which is nice, especially when you're on page 75 and you're like, I don't know what to write.
You're lost.
20 pages, and it's really intimidating. So it kind of breaks it down into smaller steps. So I'll do like an outline. I don't do this every time. Like sometimes I'll go back and write it because I'm bored and sick of structuring things. But you should outline it first, because that will help you a lot. And then with my last feature, I really learned that taking little like index cards and putting it up on a wall. Like I remember I'd just stare at these index cards on a wall, and there'd be like 50 of them. And then you can move them around with different scenes, and you can kind of... I'm a very visual person, right? Filmmaking is very visual. So it's like, if I can't see it, in a timeline, at least on a structure, then it helps me. It just makes more sense to me. So I can kind of visually see how the story arcs and how it falls, and if it makes sense, and if there's any plot holes or anything. And I'll just stare at it forever until I feel like it's solid. And then I can move on to the writing process. And then by that point, I know my story so well that it's really a lot more enjoyable.
It just starts to flow.
Yeah. And then you can it's more fun to write dialogue and like character development and like little funny moments, and you can kind of experiment a little bit more because you know where the story is going. You don't feel so lost. I remember I took a class and it was like, the book was How to Write a Movie in 21 Days. And it was the worst writing experience I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, you don't get to enjoy it.
No, because you're just writing as fast as
Yeah.
possible, and they're like, "Oh, you figure it out later."
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't even finish that feature. It was horrible.
I want to kind of relate to these days now with AI. Do you use AI?
I use ChatGPT a lot.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet it speeds up your process a lot.
Or
does it help, or does it actually take away from? I'm so curious about that.
It's not a good, if you're trying to get it to write something for you, no.
Yeah.
It's going to be cheesy. It's going to be dumb and cliche, and especially dialogue. Don't use it for dialogue.
It's more just like a person to talk to, essentially.
Yeah, it's kind of like an assistant. Like, I'll be like, okay, what do you think of this? Go off of Save the Cat's format. This is what I was doing today, actually. I'm like giving it log lines because I'm so bad at log lines and pitching, because you want something. It's like a synopsis but shorter.
Gotcha. I forget.
And it usually has like some sort of irony at the end to entice the person to want to watch the movie.
Gotcha.
And I always struggled with that a little bit, because it had to be really succinct, but also like intriguing.
Yeah.
So I have written so many log lines for this MLM movie, and it will help me just kind of like, I'm like, what do you think of this? It'll structure it for me, and then I'll write it again. So you really don't want to just let it write it for you.
Yeah.
Like, if I write something and then I let it tweak it, and then I let it analyze it, and then I let it, go off Save the Cat and do this structure for me, or write it in this tone, or what do you think about this? So it's really more just like an assistant, someone to bounce ideas off of, and then hopefully you get something good in the end. But you definitely have to work at it. And also it just gives me more confidence to feel like I know what I'm doing and I'm going in a good direction.
I feel that. And that, it's interesting to me because I use it all the time as well, but I'd use it very like commercial based, like it's not in narrative at all.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on it? Like, because essentially like you are what makes your story unique, and that never will go away. And I think that's what AI, a lot of people are worried about AI, but it's like uniqueness, our experiences, our stories are being told through, whether that's music, video, really any career we're in. What is your opinion on that? Like, just talk to me about just AI changing filmmaking, especially for you as a writer, director, DP, editor.
I think I love it and I hate it at the same time. I think a lot of people use it in a way not as a tool, but as a replacement. And it's not. It's a tool to help you as a creative person. Right. And it's not going to be, I can't remember what this quote was, but it was like, I never knew what art was until I saw AI, and it felt soulless.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing behind it. There's no emotion behind it. There's no backstory behind it. And that's what makes Filmmaker so unique, and why you don't necessarily want to change your vision or your unique perspective, because no one is you. Yeah. No one's gonna, like, even telling my story, like, I'm not worried that someone's gonna steal it. Because no one's gonna write it like I am. No one's gonna actually, create it like I would or envision it. So with AI, it just feels very like robotic. Yeah. Like I don't know how to explain it, but the more you use it, you just realize you're like, oh, it's just making things up that it's seen, but there's no real rhyme or reason behind it. Yeah. So
well, that's very healthy perspective, especially in your world, because it can be scary. I mean, we talk about it all the time here, because there's a lot of things that will actually take away from what we're doing. Ultimately, it'll speed up things, which is great, but then there's a whole imposter syndrome with it. It's like not just realizing that we are unique, we have experiences, no one can tell our story, or at least tell stories the way we would, because we're relating it so much to how we lived. And so I'm glad you have that perspective, because I struggle with it. I'm like, it's gonna take over us, but it is true. It's we're unique, and so we have to tell our story the way we're gonna tell it. So cool.
Yeah. Thanks. And I know, like, with the studios, like, replacing actors and stuff, like, that's cool.
Wild.
That's not cool with me at all. But like the writing aspect, I'm not necessarily worried about.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I was going to talk about like how you're in this process of writing your script, and one of my favorite ways to look at all aspects of creating a movie is how many times you create the movie, and doing all these extra things that you don't want to do, which is outline, and like you want to just write. That's the fun stuff. But you're creating the movie once, and then you're going to create it again when you film it, and then you're going to create it again when you edit it. And so I had never actually considered writing and how that's a whole that's a whole like thing itself, where you have pre-production essentially, which is your outline, your log line, and you're in pre-production of your script, and then you're going to go into production, which is writing. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a whole process.
That sounds a little less overwhelming. It's like when you're filming a video, you're like, pre-production preps you for the video, so it's not scary. So now I'm like, oh, I could write a feature.
Yeah, it just it takes some time, but you can do it.
Yeah, I won't write it. I'll hire you.
Okay.
And I'll fund it. That's my goal, is to like get to that point where I'll just like grab all my favorite people and help them essentially do what they want to do. Well, super cool. Is there anything else currently that you're working on that you'd want to talk about, like before we jump to the beginning of your journey? No.
I mean, that's kind of it.
It'll probably come up as we talk.
Yeah, it might. I'm just trying to focus on making more content, always trying to be a better filmmaker, more rounded filmmaker.
Yes. I was going to talk about that. You're crushing it on Instagram. Then you hate being on camera.
Yeah.
But you're so good at it, and I've seen your content, and you're leaning into the virality, the things that work, right? Because ultimately, attention is the most valuable resource these days, and so you're doing great with that. What helped you like grow your following, or just like be that person you don't essentially say you want to be, like in front of the camera where you're teaching?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember. I've been doing it seriously since I want to say 2018.
Cool.
And I knew that social media was the way to get attention and to get work. And I started researching a lot. Like I took some workshops on how to, get followers and how to get more work. And the ultimate goal was to get work. Yeah. Like it wasn't necessarily to be a content creator or influencer. I hate that. Yeah. I'm not that. I'm a filmmaker, but I do want to get work, and I do want people to see my work. Yeah. And so what was the best way to do that? And to kind of, emphasize on like my looks, not that I want that to be the center, but I don't look like a lot of the filmmakers around here, so might as well try and get something out of that. I don't know. And then I just studied a lot of social media stuff, tactics, tried a bunch of stuff out, embarrassed myself a lot.
Yeah, that's what we
still embarrassed myself a lot, but you get used to it and you get over it. And then I started getting work from it. I was like, okay, this works. And I kind of have to psych myself out. And I'm doing it by myself, so it's like not as intimidating. And I always say I direct myself. So I try and take myself out of it and pretend like I'm directing someone, even though it's me. Yeah. And I love filmmaking. That's literally the only reason I went to school.
You're creating content, which is fun.
And I'm talking about stuff I like. So it's like, it's not like, it's arduous to actually like create it, because I love it and I love inspiring people. And then I also love the community that I found online, because it can be kind of lonely, especially here in Utah. And I feel like I was kind of an outcast growing up, and I didn't necessarily like fit in, even though I did, and I loved it. And I worked on so many film projects, and I was so involved in school. I was so involved I almost didn't graduate. Yeah. But the online community has been so welcoming, and it's nice finding other women online who have the same struggles as you. And you just kind of find this little community, and you root each other on, and you keep going, and it can be very empowering. And also just that little push you need. And the more followers I got, the more confidence you get, even though it can be something silly, whatever, like it's something to grab onto, because this is a really hard industry to do anything in. So
it's a very positive outlook on social media. Yeah. Like it really is. And that's amazing. And that is true. Like you are unique, meaning like when I was in film school, I had like 3 friends that were girls, and then like 20 guys, and that was kind of the ratio. Yeah. And so do you find it, this is probably jumping ahead, but I'm curious, is it more challenging for you? Is it less challenging? Like I'm curious about just being a woman in the film industry in general at this point in your career.
I feel like it, with like the movies coming out now, like with Barbie and stuff, a lot of people are gravitating toward that more. Like I get a lot of people saying, oh, we need more female filmmakers, especially with The Substance. I love that filmmaker, Coralie.
The Substance?
Have you seen that?
No.
It just got nominated for an Oscar. She's a French filmmaker. It's starring Demi Moore.
No, if it's not like a TV show,
yeah,
like Severance, Silo, and then
I love Severance.
Right. Same. I just caught up last night.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of really amazing filmmakers that are women that are coming out now. So I feel like in that sense, it is a little easier. I've gotten used to just standing out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people initially do not give me the benefit of the doubt. A lot of people think I'm the makeup artist or an actor, or I get a lot of comments like, someone said to me the other day, like, who would ever pick you to direct anything? You know, so you just get a lot of negative feedback by people who don't know you. Yeah. Because they're just going off of what you look like or whatever, and they're angry that you're getting attention for whatever reason. Yeah. But yeah, and I've lost jobs because of jealous men.
Really?
Unfortunately.
As a director?
Yeah.
Dang it. They were what, DPing, or they were the client?
It just...
We should take them out back and...
Grip sets. Like, some people just can't handle being told what to do.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
For the most part, no. Like, the people I work with are great, and I try to work with people who obviously don't have that mentality, but...
yeah. And I think times have changed since we were in college. Like I said, I'm not going to date us, but we've been out of college for quite some time, and the times have definitely changed, and you definitely see a lot more women directors and just more authorities in film. Mm-hmm. And so I imagine it's gotten easier for you, but then it's like you came even just 10 years ago, and it may have been a little bit more difficult. But amazing that you're still in the industry and still grinding. And that's what's so exciting for me, is like catching up with these friends that I've known for so long, and we're still at it.
Yeah.
So, good job.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, "You're still doing that?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Even back then, it was like, because I'm so involved in social media and just marketing online, like that wasn't a career path, and so it's just crazy how much just filmmaking has changed. And like, obviously, you want your features to be sold and take off, but then you got to make money, and there's so much of the marketing side I'm sure you've done, and we'll get into that a little bit too, because I've seen some of those videos. But this has been great already. I'm really excited. I love this perspective too, of just being, you're a legit filmmaker. I think anyone else I've named, I've only talked to 6 other people, but so many people are involved in marketing now. It's hard to find people that are making movies, essentially features, narratives, storytelling. So let's go back to the beginning, because I want to understand, if you could see yourself as a little girl to now, is this where you wanted to be? And what initially sparked that creativity, what went off at one point? Was it one thing? Was it a bunch of things? Let's learn about it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I've always been extremely creative. Like, that's all I ever did as a kid growing up. I loved art, I loved music, I loved dance. I didn't necessarily realize filmmaking was a job for a long time. Yeah. Like, I was writing stories, and I always thought I would do something in music. I'm a terrible singer.
Really?
But, and
like, played an instrument, or did you
think
you were going to sing?
A little bit. And I loved, when I was really little, I loved the Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys, but then I got into like more rock stuff, like, oh, this is gonna date me. Tool and like
9 Inch Nails.
9 Inch Nails. I'm actually going to see them soon.
I know. I just thought I loved them.
Yeah.
Did you like Disturbed?
Yeah.
Oh,
see,
yeah.
I was like
hardcore.
Into all that stuff.
I wrote, just a side story, I wrote Disturbed. Did you know it was cool? It was cool to write on your backpack. Did you ever do that?
No.
Okay, so like the cloth type backpacks, I would write all over them. I wrote Disturbed. It's a band.
Yeah.
On my backpack, and my mom saw it, and she's like, "Oh no, my son, he's troubled. He's disturbed." We didn't have a talk, and I was like, "Mom, it's a band." Yeah. They're awesome. So anyway.
That's so funny. Yeah, my brother would be like, "Why don't you listen to something normal like Britney Spears?" Because like listening to Korn. Yeah, he was like.
Was he not into it?
No, he was, but he just didn't understand why I was.
That's like, so funny.
But, and then I once I got into high school, I took a TV and video production class with Dustin. Yeah. And our first assignment was music videos. Yep. So I was like, oh, okay, like this kind of marries the two. And I had so much fun. Like it wasn't, I hate scheduling like monotonous things where you're doing the same thing over and over again. So was really challenging. It had a music element. It was really fun. Like, I did sports, so I loved the collaboration aspect. I fell in love with editing, you know. And then as I got further along in the class, I started realizing, like, oh, I love all of this. Like, I love writing. I love making up stories. I loved making fake movie trailers and just, like, funny things like that. And by the time I was done with that class, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a film director.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 15...
You knew?
Yeah, I knew.
That's
and
amazing.
then by the time I graduated, the only reason I went to college was because of film.
Yeah.
I hated school.
Yeah.
I hated it
I
so
hear you.
much.
I hear you. It's like, that was kind of the path, though. It's like, if you didn't know where to go, it's like, all right, we're going to go to college. But at the same time, it's like, that's just what we did. I feel like it's changed now. But so when you were in Dustin's class, you said you fell in love with editing. I can relate to that. That's pretty unique.
Yeah.
What about editing in that class specifically did you like?
I think, you know, just because you plan so much and then you shoot for so long, and that's finally where you get to see where all your hard work comes together. And you get that immediate satisfaction of how this shot looks with this shot and, like, what you actually ended up with. Because it usually isn't how you totally envisioned it, especially when you're first starting out. And then I loved music, so I loved, like, playing around with the beats. And, like, I loved music videos growing up, so it was really fun to try and, like, mimic what I had seen in my head. And
did you did you make music?
No.
Okay.
No, never got that far. Yeah.
Like, where I took, like, it was like this software way before even Soundtrack was a thing. And I would just, like, put instruments together and make music. That was my first intro to, like, being creative. So I was just curious if you did the same thing. It doesn't sound like it.
No, I wish. My brain, I don't know. It's so hard for me.
Yeah.
I wish, but yeah. The editing made more sense.
Totally.
So.
I loved editing, and that was the class that I actually learned as well, that I was like, this is so fun. A lot of people hate editing now. I guess it really depends on what you're editing. But I want to go back to that picture of you with that camera. Was that like your first camera? Was that like what about that picture?
Yeah,
How old are you?
Oh, let's see. I would have been,
looks like junior high.
I think I was like 19.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I was way off.
Yeah.
You look younger, but I can't even see your face.
Yeah, I think it was about 19. I think that was the first camera I ever bought.
That makes sense.
It was 4K.
Those were the tiny.
Yeah.
That was 4K. Was it the tiny tapes?
Maybe.
Or, no, that looks like SD.
It might have been SD, actually. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was the first camera I ever bought with my own money.
Dang.
And my dad, I would go visit him, and we would always go to this karate convention that he was really involved in.
Yeah.
So I just started filming it to get some practice and play around, and I ended up going, like, every year I would make a highlight reel. So I'd pick some songs and I would edit it together, just because, I mean, any aspect of filmmaking I love. So, like, even that was fun to me, even though it sounds really boring now and I don't do it. It was a lot of work, but just having a camera was so cool to me. And yeah, that's like the oldest picture I could find of me with a camera, but I remember buying that and it was really expensive for me, but I was so excited.
That's cool. And by then you were 4 years into, you knew you were being a director.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
like,
totally obsessed. That was like the very beginning though.
Huh. That's super cool. I love to hear that, like, this wasn't like a thing that you just found out while you were in college or something. Like, you knew pretty early that you loved to make videos. Mm-hmm. So then I'm trying to think if there's anything else in high school we want to touch on, but you left high school and then you went to UVU.
Yeah, I took a couple years until I went to UVU. I was so burned out from high school. I needed a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to UVU, majored in digital media with an emphasis in cinema production. It took me 6 years to graduate.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like so many reasons. Like the schedule was weird. Like you'd miss things. I was working full time and I also had an internship. Like I'm very busy and yeah.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. The internship. I just sparked all those memories with Josh.
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember Josh?
Yeah, I forgot you worked with him.
I did. I worked for just a minute. And then I think he was looking for an intern and you ended up taking it.
Yeah, I did that internship.
Holy smokes.
For a whole semester. Oh, that's so funny. I totally forgot about that.
And it was like a fish. What was the name of the company? Like Fish Eye or something? No, that was one of the clients. No,
it was like
Revolution Media. Yeah, holy smokes, that's bringing back like total nostalgia.
Yeah, wow. I was like 21 or something.
Yeah, this would have been like I think this is one of my first times in like a company. And I think was that like the first time we even met?
I don't know.
Like essentially like.
Maybe, yeah.
Like I'm sure we crossed paths in high school, but
yeah,
I think that may have been. But so, wow, I jumped ahead. So you said you had an internship, and was that the internship?
That was the internship.
Okay. And was that while you were in college, or were you?
I was going to school full time. I was working like 30 hours a week, and then I was doing an internship. I remember I would eat lunch in my car everywhere I went. Yeah. Like I was so busy that semester. It was crazy. But I learned a lot. Like it was totally worth it. Yeah. And I got some credits, and yeah, that was a crazy time.
The internship time?
Yeah. I had no time to myself. But then like I'd be working on other people's projects. I was the cinematography club's vice president for a little while. My senior project was a narrative project, so like that was a lot of work that I neglected all my other classes. Like my last semester was math and English. Yeah. Because I did all my film stuff early, and I was so excited to do it. And then, yeah, my mom was like hounding me. She's like, "Why are you doing all these film projects?" I'm like, "Because I'm a filmmaker.
This is what I want to do."
But I mean, it was so worth it because then, all people care about is your reel. Yeah. So I was able to like make reels as I was in school too, and then just build up my experience and get better at it more and more. So by the time I graduated, I actually did have a lot of content to show, because sometimes you go through school and then you're out and you're like, okay, now I need to go show what I can do. Yeah. So I tried to do that before I graduated.
Yeah, build your portfolio before you actually go.
Yeah.
We can move on from this picture. Oh my gosh. Don't look at the date. I can't remember. This would have been a year before I graduated. And you I graduated 2014.
I graduated 2016.
Okay, so you were there just a little bit longer than I was.
Yeah.
Well, because I came out of high school, went straight to school, and started doing generals, and then I dropped out after one semester because I freaking hated it.
Oh, yeah.
Worked, and then I went to the Art Institute for a semester.
Oh, you did? I looked at that place.
Oh, that was bad.
So expensive.
It was so bad. Like, the teachers were terrible. And then I went back to UVU, and I just cranked my generals as fast as I could, and then did all the film. That's probably why we didn't cross paths for a while, because I was like straight generals. Yeah. But also filming on the side just for fun, because I knew as well that that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So then we're not even there yet. We can leave this picture. So then let's go into the internship. Kind of like, did that shape you at all? Did that do anything? Like,
oh yeah, I learned so much.
Did it shift your perspective of like what I don't want to do, what I want to do? Yeah. Talk about the journey. Yeah.
I mean, like, talk about the journey. The production company was just 2 people, so it was very small and run and gun, and even I think they didn't necessarily know what they were doing. But I did learn a lot about editing, a lot about organizing a production and producing a little bit. Yeah. We did a lot of political stuff, which was so boring. There's like a picture of me almost falling asleep like this.
I remember, and that's why it was called Revolution. It was like this revolution. And then it was the other guy. I don't remember him. He was like the politician. Mm-hmm. He loved it. What was his name?
Brandon.
And then Josh was like more of he wanted to shoot TV shows. So I remember going on set, and I think I was just gaffing. You may have been. I think you were running audio.
Yep, probably.
And Josh was running camera.
Yeah, I would just fit in wherever. So I mean, I did a lot of different roles. Yeah. Like I would just, whatever they needed, I would try and like fill. But yeah, I know I would never want to do any of that stuff. They did, political stuff, and then they tried doing like a documentary TV type of show. And
one of the things ended up on TV. It was like, I just remember a lady was having a baby.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
what it was about.
Really remember.
I ended up. I remember him. Josh was telling me, he's like, "You need to check it out," and I just watched it. It was like at 11 at night.
Yeah,
super late. But that's cool. So then you came out of that knowing you didn't want to go into politics.
Yes.
Did it just strengthen your opinion on being a director, or like?
Yeah, I don't know if it really influenced me either way. Okay.
Did it influence you not to run a production company?
Yeah.
Okay.
That definitely helped. I saw, there's a lot of managerial and business stuff that I didn't ever want to touch. I did try and do a production company a little bit after I graduated, and no, it's not for me. Yeah. I just want to create. I'd rather work with production companies and have them hire me on. Yeah. Like that's where I'm more comfortable with, and I'm not a business person at all. Yeah. I'm a terrible manager. I would just be so nice to everybody. We'd never get anything done. So
that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because it's funny, because that's where I ended up going, was that way, and I actually learned I love business and I enjoy it. So it's just interesting to hear that made you like go, no. I don't remember if that, when I was there, if it was like, if it swayed me either way. I don't think that was. I learned through college that I didn't want to be a director. I didn't want to be in the movies, and that's part of my whole journey of just like the wanting to be more of the social media quick producing, like, and then it shifted to marketing. But that's why I'm so curious about it, is like when you try, that's like when we try these different things in film, it slowly shifts our perspective, and it sounds like you just kept plugging away and you wanted to be a director still.
Yeah, and I really fell in love with writing. I think that's what in school, that's kind of what sparked it. I took extra writing classes, and I really fell in love with that and writing my own stuff. And then editing too. Editing has been super helpful, especially getting work, because a lot of people don't like to edit. Yeah. And I can do that from home. I have a really awesome computer, and editing can really shape your story too. I've edited a lot of my own films, like my own projects, and there are a lot of projects that could have been a lot better had I edited them. Even in my senior project, I ended up having to take it over because the editor didn't know what he's doing.
I'm going to use this as a recruiting piece.
Yeah.
What kind of editing do you like? Does it have to be narrative, or do you just tell me about that?
I like I've done a lot of social media stuff, especially for other companies, so I love
and that there's
music.
Tons of work in social media and
so
ads
much
now.
Yeah, I don't necessarily love all of it, but I do love finding music and making things like flow and pop, like with different beats and like different transitions are really fun for me.
Very cool.
Just fun. I feel like I'm really good at comedic timing, so I can really find that in the edit too.
Cool.
I love seeing it come together.
Cool. I'm taking notes. She's really good at editing.
Yeah, it's like taking the puzzle and all the things that you're working on and then putting it together. Yeah. I love that aspect, and it's just like storytelling in video format.
Yes,
very visual.
And it's like your experiences and your style are going to manipulate that edit.
Right. Yeah.
And I love editing. So you're preaching to the choir right now. All those things you said, I relate with. That's super cool. So then you finish your internship. You're still in school?
Oh yeah.
2 more years?
Internship pretty early on.
Oh yes, because we did then. I don't even think I probably did like 3 or 4 edits for them. Did that one shoot, and I wasn't jiving. I wasn't feeling it, so I ended up not doing it. But Josh ended up hiring me for a gig a while, very far after, and it was
really?
a rehab center. Did you know? I don't know if that was a client prior, but anyway, we went to this rehab center and it was wild.
It sounds like it.
Lots of testimonials of just recovery. It was really cool, but it was a cool experience, and Josh was a character. He's a funny dude.
Yeah.
So it was super fun to work with him again. But so we didn't do any I've been trying to rack my brain. We never did any video, ever were on the same video project, right? Okay.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, because you were a director DP and I was a director DP, so we were being hired, and I was directing and DPing everything on my friend group. And who did you work with the most that I might know? I'm trying to
school?
think. Yeah, you said you worked with James Terry.
I did, yeah. He was the first DP on my first short film that I wrote and directed.
Really?
I'm trying to think who else. It's been so long since I really thought about it. Man, I feel like I worked with everybody. I can't even.
Don't worry, I'm putting you on the spot. Essentially, we didn't end up working on any films together, but we took audio together, and that was super fun.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what we did in the class.
We
probably just learned
Vegas.
music.
Was
oh my
that
gosh,
the
that's
program?
right. Yeah, I think it
don't
was.
think people use that anymore.
I didn't like it. I think
No.
I failed it with. It was the only class I ever failed, and I failed Wiz's class. I hated audio.
Oh yeah.
No offense, John. He's sitting back here like, screw you. That's like where John came from, and
Yeah.
I failed it, so I had to take it again, and that's essentially where we ended up. In Brian's class, who we talked at the beginning, is now super fit and crushing it. But from there, that's when we can pull up the thing, because we knew each other at that point.
Yeah.
And I hired you as a second camera to come shoot that music video with Wayne Burton.
Mm-hmm. So random.
2013.
Oh,
Glide cams.
So weird to see.
I think that was a 5D probably Mark 1.
Mark 1, yeah.
Full frame, baby. 16 to 35. Big Devin Supertramp fan, so that's why I rocked that. Where were you at this point in your life? Like, you were...
Where was I?
Were you working? Were you still in school? I can't remember.
I would have been in school. I would have been working.
Well, yeah, because you went 2016. I was 14. Got it.
Yeah, I would have. That was, let's see, I did my senior project in 2014. So, yeah, I actually probably just had been doing my first short film ever.
See, that's when I did my senior project with, I had Morgan Lisenby, I think. Morgan.
Oh, okay.
She was a cowgirl.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Gifford.
Yeah, I remember
Big Jake.
Yeah, he worked on my senior project,
okay.
too. Yeah.
Dustin Armstrong.
Yep.
And then Tara. I can't remember
yeah.
her last name. That was kind of a group that I kind of jumped into. I was good friends with Dustin, but kind of got to know Morgan and Jake. Anyway, that's super funny. Yeah. But I ended up doing my senior project as my last thing, and then I graduated. It sounds like you did yours, and you still had 2 more years of school.
Yeah, I did it in the middle. I don't know why. I did all my film classes first, which I don't necessarily recommend, because then the last 2 years sucked.
You hated it.
So, but I had to get it done, like all that
Yeah.
work down the drain. I didn't want that to happen. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, the senior project was a lot of work. It was a 16-page short film on a farm with a horse. Don't do that if you're doing a big project by yourself.
Yeah, that's a big project.
My actor almost got bucked off. He got hit in the head. The horse trainer was crying at one point. Like, it was a lot of work. It was like a 3-day shoot. But yeah, Jake Gifford was on it, and there was probably about 10 people in my group. It was pretty big.
Talk about dealing with problems as a director, like your person gets bucked in the head. I feel like this is a similar project, but it wasn't the same one because you were on it. But Jake was on it, Brooke Millward was on it, and there was horses. And it was a very scary experience because we actually put a cord under the horse, which no one really knew at that point. I don't even think there was a horse wrangler. It's just a bunch of students. And then Brian, he's an older dude, was the DP. Brian, like really old, like 70. Do you remember? Did you ever know him? Brian No.
Maybe.
Oh, I can't remember. But anyway, we wrangled a cable under the horse, and it freaking spooked it. And it threw its legs up, started freaking out, almost knocked our camera off. We had like this high angle. So, good on you for having a horse in your senior project.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So then, 2 years of generals. Let's just breeze over that because that sucked. Were you doing anything as well during that time in college? Were you still working on projects?
I think I took a job as an editor, so I did that for a little while, part-time.
Where'd you work?
Oh, shoot, what's his name? He was also a student. He started his own production company. Shoot,
it's okay.
I forgot his name, but yeah, it was just like little things that he would get with like real estate agents or stuff like that. It wasn't anything really that big. I didn't do it for that long either. And then I kind of tried starting my production company, but not really. And then I was just trying to get through school, honestly. Like that's all I really did. And then as soon as I graduated, that's when I wrote that feature for the Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
I worked on that for a long time, and I thought that was going to be my first feature film.
Really?
And I was with someone who like assured me that, he could get it made, and like he knew all these people that would fund it, and I was really banking on that for a long time. I spent a long time writing it. I literally put all my eggs into one basket. Dang. And then it just kind of blew up and nothing.
This guy was just talk.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it was
I'm
horrible.
sorry.
Like I felt like I
worst.
was like, wow, this like a year of my life for nothing.
Yeah.
And I was just crushed.
Yeah.
I had to move back home. I was like so broke, like no car, no money, no job, like about as broke as you could get. But you know, through that, like I realized I'm extremely resilient, and I got a job as a camera operator at Icon Fitness. I don't know if you've ever worked for them in Logan.
I haven't.
But they do like fitness classes all the time, and it was a really good paying job.
Cool.
And it was someone, do you remember Joshua French?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know the name.
He was an actor more so. He was in the theater program, but he works on a lot of films.
If I see him, I'd be like, duh.
Yeah. But he reached out to me and he got me that job as a camera operator, and I just like glommed onto it. So like, well, I don't have anything else going on. It was live, yeah.
And that's what COVID messed up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was there, let's see, fall of 2018, did that for like a year or so. They would like have me go up there, get me a hotel room. I'd stay for 5 days.
Oh, wow.
We'd shoot all day, and then I'd come home. Really good paying job. It was so great. It like got me back on my feet right away. And that was probably the biggest benefit from school, was how many people I met.
Yeah.
And all the networking and all the connections. Like I still get work from it. I still, because I worked on so many projects that people just knew who I was.
Yeah.
And you just want to work with people you know and people you like.
Yep.
And that's like such a good, you know, introduction to whatever job you want to get. They're like, oh, I know her.
Yep.
I liked working with you.
Yep.
Great. So that was a really great way for me to just get on my feet, even though it was camera operating. Like I'm not that passionate about it, especially fitness kind of stuff. But I learned a lot. I, got a lot of strength from carrying a 20-pound camera on my shoulder for hour-long, sessions and all that. And then I started freelancing after that for 4 years.
Freelancing and doing what?
So many random things. I'd worked with a lot of production companies. We did a lot of live events. I did some technical directing, did some concerts, a lot of camera operating. I don't know why I fell into live productions. That's just kind of like what was available and what I found.
That's cool.
That's when I started doing more social media stuff to try and network and meet people. And then sometimes I do some writing, do a little bit of directing, but they would be smaller projects or my own projects.
Yeah. Would that be what keeps your, because I imagine you're not super jazzed on live broadcasting and running camera.
Yeah.
Writing, directing is still your thing. So are you writing these videos that we'll talk about soon? Or are you what are you working on what are you doing to fuel your passion?
Oh yeah, I'd be writing shorts mostly. Sometimes I'd write stuff for other people that wanted to work on stuff too. I'd be teaching myself editing techniques and all that. In 2018, all these people that I'd met doing live productions, I was like, we should make something. And so I got this free location and I wrote a script around that. And then I knew these 2 stunt actresses who were professional.
Wex,
yes. And Amber.
They were both on, we hired them. Well, I've hired Wex so many times.
Yes, she's great.
But the other girl, Amber, she was on a Devon Supertramp shoot. We did a Fortnite video and she was one of the characters. Yeah. And Wex was she was Pink Panther. But yeah, I saw your video and I was like, oh my gosh. We've worked with a lot of the same actresses and actors.
Yeah, so I wanted to do some kind of action film. I was like, I want to do, just try it, just see what we can do. And I had this location, these constraints, and all these people came together and we made it. I got it into the Utah Film Festival.
Cool.
Didn't get to see it because COVID happened right before, and so it was all online, so I didn't get to go, unfortunately.
Dang it. That's the whole experience.
I know, I was like, wow, a month before, nothing. But that really gave me a lot of confidence because it was for free. It was an 8-hour shoot with
and you
10
submitted
people.
It into low budget or no budget.
That one was a low budget one, yeah.
Gotcha.
So that would have been the 2020 Utah Film Festival. And then COVID happened, and then I got a corporate job up in Logan for a company that had an in-house studio as a director, and it was kind of everything I was doing anyway, so it was really good experience. I moved up there, nothing to do up there. I already knew that because I'd been working up there a lot, but it was basically what I was doing freelance anyways. And I got a lot of commercial work, full time, just like put my head down, like tried to like gain as much knowledge as I could. And I did that for 2 years.
How did you feel about the corporate world in filmmaking?
Yeah, it's different. The people I worked with were awesome. You know, like I feel like film people don't really change even if you're in a corporate setting a lot times.
It's just that's a good point. It's the people that aren't in the film.
It's the other people.
The politics that are outside of the creatives.
Yeah.
Oof,
there's just like a lot of
navigate.
Yeah, there's just a lot of explaining to do. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of people not understanding the process or the budget or how long things take and
it costs how much.
Yeah, and it's just there's always just an extra hurdle where with production companies you don't have that. People already know what they're doing. And by the end of that job, like they point blank said they do not care about creativity, and that just kind of was soul crushing.
You're just like
me.
A wheelhouse, like just crank the
videos.
So
by the end of that job, I was like, I wasn't even like sad to leave. So it was just like, okay, it's time to go. And then I didn't really know where to go, so I got that weird MLM job that a friend got for me from school in video production, and then I got promoted to social media director.
Nice.
Because I'd been doing my own social media for so long, I kind of got the hang of it at that point.
Totally.
So I was just trying to diversify my portfolio and gain work as much as possible during COVID.
Did you like the social media management world? Because that's a whole career in filmmaking as well, which isn't like, really you can take it a lot of directions. Like you don't want to be just this like, you know, silly UGC type creator. You can get pretty cinematic with it, but I'm talking about specifically managing an account and being creative and coming up with content for that account. Did you like it?
No.
Just be honest.
Not really. Because you're kind of at the mercy of whatever the corporation wants.
The algorithm. Exactly.
Sometimes it'd be fun, you know, to come up with like little ideas that were a little more cinematic or creative.
And you're directly reflected to that post and likes and comments and engagement.
And that's another thing
it's a flop.
Right, exactly. Like with filmmaking, you get used to, you know, people judging you or whatever, but it's on a different scale because social media, it's so constant. So it's like every post, everyone's looking at your work, everyone's judging your work, everyone's seeing how many views you're getting, how many likes you're getting, how many saves you're getting. And there's so much more pressure to do well. And then the people at the top are like, we want things to go viral. And you're like, do you understand how difficult that is? And there's just constantly, there's just a constant reassurance of like, it's not going to go viral every single time. And that's such a ridiculous, like, whatever. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
There's a lot of ways to go viral, and it can just destroy your brand if we want. I mean, but it's like that's the hard part is like you want to protect people's brands. There's virality, and trying to find a middle ground there is hard. And most people want to lean more towards the virality. Yeah, kind of crushes creativity.
And social media is not the same as filmmaking. It just isn't.
No,
you know,
but at the same time, it's like. There are accounts that are very catered to filmmaking and being creative, and there are companies that lend itself to that. But yes, then there's way more that aren't, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm trying to. I've really burned myself out with social media lately. I'm not really posting as much anymore and trying to focus on the long-term game, which is just filmmaking and YouTube and my career in commercial and narrative work.
So then. That takes me to, I want to talk about your film that you submitted, the dark comedy, and a little bit about your commercial work too. Like, what is this?
What is this? That is a good question. I don't know. Well, like,
how did it become this? Like, you had to have an idea. Like, I'm so curious, and then it ultimately won some awards.
Yeah. So this script, I had been writing the script for years, and it kept changing over time. I think this is probably like the 8th or 9th iteration of this script. But I wanted to write something that was with no dialogue. That was a dark comedy, because I love dark comedies. It's my favorite, but I had never really written one for whatever reason. And then I just wanted to really make something that felt like it was mine, because at that point I'd been creating short films and projects, but there was always other influences. It was for school, or it was someone else's idea, or it was based in this location and that's what we could get away with. So this was like the first project where I was like, no, this is what I want to see and what I want to do. In that job up in Logan, I was actually let go for various reasons, partially because of social media, which is funny because that's how I got hired.
And ultimately how you got fired.
It was a lot, and part of it was unfortunately because someone couldn't handle me being in charge. Anyway,
I think we get it. We're picking up the vibe. That's too bad.
It was a lot, and by the end of that, I didn't really care because it wasn't
like you were
really
done
that
anyway.
great of a job anyway. By the end of it, so I had 2 months before my lease was up, and I had already kind of been planning for this, and I wrote it around where I was living. So there was my apartment, and then there was a park across the street, and then my DP unfortunately wasn't really. I think he was also part of the problem, so I ended up taking on the DP role too.
Nice.
But then I found someone who I'd worked with who was a really great gaffer. I'm like, okay, if I can get this gaffer, I'm going to DP this too. And I kind of had a chip on my shoulder at that point, so I was like, I'm going to make this. I'm going to put money into it. I'm going to find all these people. I knew Lindsay, the main actress. I'd worked with her a little bit. She lived nearby. And she was on board, and the people I ended up getting were so awesome. Like, it was only 8 of us. She helped me at the ending, I don't know how I came up with it. It just kind of morphed into whatever this is.
And I'm curious, like the dark comedy. Why?
I love.
It's you, and I'm curious, and I don't want to like pry too much, but like. You seem to like it a lot.
I love it.
I'm curious where it comes from.
I think just, I love the Coen brothers so much. And they're in life, like, I hate it when movies or dramas are just serious. Or they're just comedic. Because in real life, that's not really how life is. Like, there's a mix of all emotions, right? And I love the absurdity of seeing things that are dark but also funny. And I think because I grew up with anxiety and depression so much, I was so used to being sad all the time. But you get used to being sad and then you laugh. And for some reason, that absurdity is just so funny to me and more realistic in a way and more palatable to me and more interesting. So I remember Lindsay, like, on the set, she's like, you have me like going through all these emotions every 5 seconds. I was like, I guess you're kind of bipolar.
This isn't healthy for me as an actress.
I was just like, well, you're right. Sorry, so good luck. But for me, it just feels so much more interesting and fun. It's funny because life can be so hard and defeating. And for me, I guess that's just like a way that I can express that in a healthy way. And it's also it just feels more authentic to me.
It's you. Which is cool. And that's part of being unique and telling your own stories.
Right.
So then what ended up happening with it? You can pause this one since we're going to be talking about that other film. So you finished it, and then tell us about the success of it, or just how it came to be.
So I finished, so I moved. I actually finished it a week before I moved, and there was just a lot going on. I moved, I started a new job, and it took me a long time to edit it. It actually took me like a year.
Really?
Because I didn't touch it for like 4 months, and then I was just really stressed out at that job, and then I started working on it little by little, and then I started getting really anxious because I had put so much work into it, and like, it's weird when you put so much work into a project that really feels like you. And then you're like, okay, there's no other excuse to why this is the way it is. This is just me.
You.
So I'm like, okay, this is kind of being vulnerable. But I eventually finished it, and I gave myself a date to get it done for the Utah Film Festival. And we ended up getting in, and I was so excited because at that point it probably was actually closer to a year and a half. I edited everything though. I did the color correction, the music, like everything by myself essentially. So I learned a lot doing that because you want to make it as good as you can, especially when you put money into it. I probably spent a little under $3,000 by the end of it. Wow. I'd never spent that much money on a project. I was like, this better work. And so, we got into the Utah Film Festival. We didn't win anything, but I got nominated for Women Filmmaker, which was cool. And then the Zepstone Film Festival just in September.
That's what.
We won Best Director and Best Actress.
Nice. And
that was really cool because I was not expecting to win anything. And at that point, I hadn't really won much of anything either.
Yeah.
And like Best Director, like that's
heck yeah.
Like so.
That's what you wanted.
Like validating. Even though it's just a film festival, doesn't mean everything, but it's nice to have that. And so.
And then who's the guy? She's the actress.
That's my boyfriend, but he also acted in it.
Oh, okay.
Our actor bailed 2 days before the shoot.
No way.
So
problem solving.
So he was my backup, and I was like, you don't have to do a lot. You're gonna have a bag over your head most of the time.
Yeah.
So he'd never been in the film, but he did a great job, and he didn't have a huge role, so it was fine. He was probably actually a better option. That's
up to this point. Would you say this is what you're most proud of?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Cool.
It was nice to go all in on something and spend so long on it, and then actually have some sort of payoff and recognition for it. Because there's so many I've failed on so many projects, and nothing came out of them, no wins, nothing. Not that that's the most important thing, but you do want to see your projects succeed on some level. It's
validation.
Right.
It takes a little longer than social media.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and you put your heart and soul into something, and you really want to just make sure that you're making the right decisions for your career too, because
for sure.
But now, just having that under my belt, I've gotten so much more work from it.
Cool.
People reaching out, people wanting to work with me. So it's worth to put that time into your career and yourself if that's really what you want to do.
You're on the scene now. You're a best director. You're
the best.
You're the best director. It's on Elf, the world's best cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
The best director. So from there, that kind of brings us up to the now. Which how long ago was that?
That picture was in September.
Okay, so pretty recent.
4 months ago.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us up to about now. What are you doing? Any commercial work right now? I saw some of your stuff. Commercially, what is that? I know that's not narrative, but it is.
Right.
Sort of.
It is a little bit. I mean, a lot of the commercials that I've done were for those corporate jobs.
Oh, okay.
But then I've been pitching for other production companies too lately. I'm hopefully going to be doing stuff with Creatively soon.
I have an in.
Yeah?
Yeah, unless you already do.
I know a couple people too.
It's I can
Is
help.
It Neil?
Yeah.
And Rennie?
No, it's actually the guy over marketing, Dallin.
Oh, okay.
Do you know him? He's new.
No, but I'm meeting with them tomorrow, so
shaking things up. Dallin Koski.
Okay.
Yeah, we can go into more of that off mic.
Yeah.
But he's a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
And I love comedy too, so it really does feel like the perfect marriage between commercial work and narrative. So I'm really hoping
that is what's fun about if you can actually marry the two, because there's marketing is great because that's where the money is. You need to be able to pay for your stuff. You don't want to pay $3,000 every time you make a video. Mm-hmm. Are you applying for a director position? Mm-hmm. Sweet. Very cool.
Yeah, writer director. So
so you're okay with commercial. You're okay with marketing.
Mind it.
As long as you can write and direct.
As long as I can write and direct, I love it. And I've realized working through so many different jobs that it really doesn't matter as long as I'm behind the camera and I'm gaining experience and I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. And I do enjoy, working with different types of people and challenges and making something interesting, for a deodorant commercial or something. I find that really interesting.
Very cool.
So
yeah, that'll be super fun to get into that because it's creative, and I'm sure you can find some brands that want a little darkness into the. Sorry, I didn't mean to say creative. It's funny, and I'm sure you can find some dark companies to marry the two.
Exactly.
That'd be fun. So then looking towards the future, it kind of is where we're at right now, of just like obviously this opportunity with Creatively. What does the next 5 to 10 years look like for you as Whitney, witty film girl?
Yeah.
Where are you headed? What's ideal? Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, I can do bigger budget commercials. I do like that avenue because they're shorter.
Yeah.
I can make more money, and then I can work on my other longer projects in between.
So the longer projects are still priority?
Still priority. I'd still love to make feature films. I'd love to get into music videos. Those are a little harder with
like storytelling
musicians.
type music videos, not just like gangster.
No, I mean, storytelling would be cooler. Yeah, like just weird, different kind of stories. You can be a little bit more experimental with them too, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
And then hopefully
country music videos. That's what you want to get into.
Yeah.
You don't like country. I already know that.
We'll see.
Trying to think of any artists.
Think of something.
Some Luke Combs, some Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But yeah, hopefully, making my own projects, doing commercial work, doing music videos, doing features. I'd love to build up my YouTube channel and make content on there. I like encouraging people to make films and, follow their passions and stuff like that. I find it enjoyable to see people work on their own stuff and keep going, because I feel like I would have liked that growing up, and I didn't necessarily have that, so...
And you have your perspective that a lot of people resonate with. And I think that's super cool. What's the kind of, we talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but like if you could just create this kind of content for YouTube, what would it be? Is it educational?
I like just showing behind the scenes of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I can talk about it a little bit. Recently the format's been just me writing text over it and just kind of showing the raw edit of what's happening, so people can see what it's actually like on a film set, because a lot of behind the scenes, I feel like they're so highly edited that you don't really understand what the process is like. Yeah. Even the downtime, like there's a lot of downtime on set, and
hurry up and wait.
Yeah, and the camaraderie and all that. It's fun to show, and I really enjoy being on set.
Very cool. I love being on set too. I miss it sometimes because we do these videos. We've done some bigger commercials where like it is a big group, and I love that so much. What we do now is so small, and I can see us definitely heading that direction. So if I need a director, you're back on the list. I'm sad we lost touch over all these years, and like
I know,
like completely lost touch.
Yeah.
And so you've been doing all this stuff, and I'm so glad that like we're now back to reconnecting and hearing about a lot of the things I already knew, which is you're a great editor, you're a director, you're a DP. And so you're on the radar for when we need someone to come and direct for us.
Sweet.
But I'm not done. I got one more question. The features. So you say, you want to do these short things. You want to do marketing. It's short. It's where the money is. But you're like, but then I want to, do features. I still want to do, like, when I say 5 to 10 years down the road, like, ideally, does the feature take precedence? And you're like, I really want to dip into, like, the best case scenario for you. What is it? Is it I'll just let you say it. Answer that question. Like, what do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? Like,
I would love to have a film at Sundance.
Cool.
That's like my top. I don't necessarily care about being a Hollywood director. Or anything
that's kind of my question.
like that. And it's kind of a volatile industry right now. Like, it's not so great. Like, my sister's partner, she's a producer, and she's really struggling to find work, and she's great.
Yeah.
So it's just changing a lot. A lot of people are leaving LA.
Why is did she tell you?
Part of it was the writer's strike, the actor's strike, COVID, AI, now the fires. It's so just like everything's just happening.
About just being a big name like The Rock? And
no.
Okay, like no, I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general in the Hollywood world. I'm curious if you have an insight with her being in that. Is it hard to just like you gotta latch yourself onto a big name like that can just produce their own content and features?
Yeah, it's really who you know. Just like
which is
meeting
essentially that.
People and networking. She mostly does commercials. Okay. So she's a producer in that world. which there should be more work, honestly. So it's a little concerning that she's not finding it as easy. But yeah, I'd rather be an independent filmmaker anyway, and just do my own stuff. And Sundance is like my favorite film festival, so it'd just be so cool to go there.
I've never been. Isn't that, are you offended?
Yes. So
I
close.
remember Wiz and Brian like harping on everybody. Like Wiz had his whole schedule, and it's like, you got to go to all these films, and I never made it.
Yeah, he got me tickets. I went one time, yeah.
And I feel bad that I've never gone, but I just never seem to have gotten there. So if you're an independent filmmaker, you get into Sundance, this is the ideal world. Have you paid for this movie? Have you...
Oh, I hope not.
Okay.
No.
Are you getting into the film festival hoping it gets picked up, or is it more just a creative outlet that you're just like, I just want to get there, I don't need to win awards? Or do you have awards you want to win? Like what? Do you want to win the best director again?
I guess I haven't. No, that'd be amazing. I mean, that'd be best case scenario. Yeah. I haven't really thought about it too much. Like they get, I don't know, 20,000 submissions a year. So even just getting in would be amazing. Obviously getting it sold to a distribution company or someone would be great. I'd love to work with a company like A24 or something like that. I love their films.
Yeah. So it's really just getting there, showing what you can do, and then hoping people see it and get more opportunities through that.
Yeah.
Cool. Basically. And then when we have you back on in 10 years, we'll talk about the next step, which is you're going to be a Hollywood director. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's so funny. Okay, well, you're going to be a Sundance filmmaker one day. And then that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk to you about. Is there anything else before I ask my last question that you'd want to touch on as a filmmaker?
As a filmmaker,
I'm kind of asking the question I think I'm going to ask, and I'll just ask this question. As a filmmaker, a woman in this industry, what would you say to someone watching this that wants to go on, that maybe wants to write some features, maybe wants to be on the same path you're on? What kind of advice would you give them? I guess give your little self back then. Like, what would you tell them to do to get to this point in your career?
I usually tell people, make sure you know you love it.
Yeah.
Because that's going to carry you through the difficult times and the stress. And if you know you love it, your career is probably not going to turn out how you thought it would.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of trial and error. There's no straight arrow. There's no straight line. I'm definitely not where I thought I would be at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm also so happy that I didn't give up.
Yeah.
Because, like, I love filmmaking so much. Like, it either hurts me to not do it or hurts me to do it. And I might as well just keep going because the years are going to pass anyway. Yeah. So you might as well just keep doing what you love. And if you have that true passion for it, and I feel like I'm meant to do this, like I feel so comfortable saying I'm a filmmaker because I love it so much and I've spent so much time, you know, investing in myself and investing in my career, that just know that you do have the resilience to carry yourself through if you really want to do it, and have the confidence to say that you are a filmmaker, because that can be intimidating in itself and people don't necessarily understand it. But yeah, just know that you can do it and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Heck yeah. That's amazing advice. So take it, use it, and I'm so glad that you're able to do this. I'm so glad we got to catch up.
Yeah.
So fun, 12, 13 years later. Well, I wish the best for you on this journey to becoming a Sundance nominee. Is that what you call it? Sundance Film Festival
I don't
filmmaker.
know. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's see if we can get some work together, because I feel like there's some avenues here, knowing who you are as a director and an editor now. And my ultimate goal is to help people do what they want to do. And so let's make it happen.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you for watching. That's the end of this episode. Comment, like, subscribe. Make sure you go give Whitty Film Girl. Gosh, Whitty Film Girl, Whitney Ingram on Instagram, and go give her a follow. So yeah, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll give a last little shout out to your YouTube page. I just sounded like a boomer. A YouTube page. Your YouTube channel.